Thank you for joining us for The Sky Above, where we discuss everything happening in the sky this upcoming month so you can plan ahead and know when to look up. I'm meteorologist Leah Pezzetti, and here's what's heading your way right now on this June episode. We have a meteor shower expected this month, but will it get blown out by the bright full moon? We'll tell you the best time to look up to spot that. And a Washington-based company is on a mission to service satellites while they are orbiting in space, the challenges presenting themselves, and where this team stands now. Plus, after a historic Artemis II mission to the moon, NASA is busy with the next phase and unveiling what life on the moon will look like. We will take a deep dive. Let's jump right in right now. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm joined, as always, by NASA Solar System Ambassador and member of the Seattle Astronomical Society, Keith Crum. Keith, thanks for being with us, as always.
Thank you, Leah. Great to be here again, for sure.
And we will start where we always do, with our full moon. Let's talk about the June full moon. When and where is this one? Well, we know where it is, I guess.
Yeah. The strawberry moon. Native American and Western cultures both call it the strawberry moon, also called the rose moon and the honeymoon.
Okay. Let's talk about the timing. We have our new moon, which we like for stargazing, but of course the full moon. New moon June 14th, full moon June 29th.
June 29th, that's right. And that is a great time to get out and look at the night sky.
Okay, great. So anyone who wants to try to see anything, meteor showers, stargazing, planet gazing, shoot for mid-month this month. That will be the best time to do that. Okay, and you had a couple other factoids about this full moon.
We'll just do this really quick
Okay.
with our standard Earth globe here.
Okay.
Pointing to you, of course, again, being the sun.
So I'm the sun, okay.
Yeah, very good. So there we are. The tilt of the Earth is toward the sun here at the solstice.
Okay.
And we'll have the new moon here on the 14th, like we talked about.
New moon, great.
And then we'll have the short night full moon over here.
Okay.
So, you know, when the moon's over here, of course, we're way up here looking way down at the edge of the horizon. And the moon's just barely coming over, a very short night full moon on the 29th.
And that's such a great perspective to think of. I love that kind of flip your brain, because we think of summer long days, but that also means we have short nights.
Short
That also closes our window of opportunity as we head into these summer nights of viewing things.
Yep.
We like a good dark sky.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's right.
great. All right, and then also this month, thank you, I'll pass the sun off to you. Also this month, we are going to welcome a new season. June 21st. Hard to believe.
21st.
Summer is here.
Yeah. Solstice, 16 hours of daylight. Not a lot of time to get out and look at the night sky, but be warmer. I don't mind staying up for those few hours when it's absolutely astronomical dark after, you know, the sun goes down. So,
yeah. That's a good point. Okay, we may lose the window of opportunity to view, but at least we'll be more comfortable while we do it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so June 21st, summer solstice. We'll ring in the new season. Our sunrise, 5:11 a.m., sunset 9:10. So yeah, about 16 hours of sunlight. My goodness, that is one of the best times of the year. I always love the late sunsets.
Oh, me too.
Okay, and unfortunately, our meteor shower this year.
Yeah, the June bootids. Some people will say bootids.
It looks like bootids.
But it looks like bootids. Bootids will peak on June 27th, early evening, which is nice. I mean, it doesn't always, but you look to the zenith, straight overhead after dark, obviously. It's considered a variable shower, so, you know, the numbers are variable on how many we're going to get.
So not necessarily the most impressive.
Maybe not.
But it's noteworthy.
Absolutely. In dark sky area. So I think kind of the pro tip, if you will, is get out there maybe a week earlier. Because the peak is on that date of the 27th. But, you know, if you get out there a little bit earlier, then you'll avoid the moon maybe.
Right. So as Keith is saying, the full moon right in line with the peak of that, and because the full moon is so bright, it can hinder the ability to see other things in the sky, like a meteor shower. So maybe June 20th? Maybe, hey, let's celebrate the new season, maybe June 21st.
Or the 24th. That's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Keith. Oh my goodness, I should have brought you a cupcake. Happy birthday, Keith. We got you a meteor shower. Okay, let's talk about planets and constellations this month. We've got a few to go through. Let's see, Venus climbing high in the sky.
Yep. Venus is moving up in the sky each evening, so get out there and look west around sunset, and it's gorgeous.
Okay. June 7th, so early in the month, Jupiter and Venus will be near each other.
Yeah, even more beautiful, is to see the two planets close together.
Yeah. How do you know that that's what you're looking at?
Well, because I've studied it.
Okay, how about the rest of us?
Well, I would say use a sky app if you're not sure of some kind.
Okay.
There are lots of sky apps. I use Sky Safari. It's a good one. You can hold it up to what you're looking at and hold it right there, and then it'll show you what it is.
Neat. Okay, cool. And then Saturn as well?
Saturn coming up in the mornings.
Okay.
And Mars, yep.
Mars as well, all right.
Yep.
Let's see, and then we've got the moon kind of mid-month with that new moon moving through, kind of passing some planets.
So this graphic gives you a really good idea. Again, this is from a free app, Sky Safari, and you can see the moon next to Jupiter and Venus just after sunset right there in the west.
Nice.
So that's really a pretty picture every year.
Cool. Okay. And you just told me something that I think you just blew my mind. Something about the Big Dipper. Everybody knows the Big Dipper. If you know nothing about space, you've heard of the Big Dipper. But there's something that we need to know about the Big Dipper.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, I mean, mostly we call it a constellation, but it's really not a constellation.
Okay. Tell us more.
It's an asterism. So there are lots of asterisms out there. Asterisms are just different groupings of stars.
Okay.
So in this case, the Big Dipper happens to be part of Ursa Major, which is the constellation.
Okay.
But the Big Dipper itself is considered an asterism.
So you said it's a grouping of stars. How would you define a constellation then?
Well, it's also a grouping of stars, but it's a grouping of stars that is not a constellation. There have been many asterisms that have been identified that are not constellations. Well, one of the most famous ones is the Summer Triangle.
Okay.
And that is that really helps you navigate the sky. It's 3 stars that are just connected together, Vega, Deneb, and Altair, and that is an asterism as well.
Okay.
But it connects 3 constellations.
Okay, so there you go, everybody. The next time you are looking up and someone says, look at the constellation, the Big Dipper, you say, now.
Yeah.
That's actually an asterism.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and then let's see, we have some double stars, right?
Yeah, double star. The second star in the handle of the Big Dipper is Mizar and Alcor.
Okay.
And that is a binary system. They orbit each other, and there's some other orbiting stars in there as well. But those are the 2 main ones. And it's a beautiful sight through a small telescope or through binoculars.
So do they switch places in the handle of the Big Dipper?
Well, over a long, long time, yeah. But it takes, they're far away. They're 81 and 83 light years away from us.
Okay. So maybe not in our lifetime.
Takes a while, right.
Okay. And then there's a legend you have with this one?
Yeah, the Roman soldiers, the Roman leaders used to pick their soldiers by their eyesight. So if they could tell that the difference, that there were 2 stars there, then they could be in the army.
Oh.
That's the myth. That's
interesting.
I don't know if it's a myth. It's
the lore.
Yeah. I don't know. I probably would say, no, I can't see.
Yeah, I can't see it. Sorry. Let me stay home.
Right.
Okay, so the constellation Hercules, which of course, son of Zeus, we all know.
Yeah.
How do we see this one?
Well, it's you look for the Hercules in the eastern sky, and what you want to do is find the Great Cluster of Hercules, also known as M13. This is a picture I took of it.
Oh, you took this?
I took this
Beautiful.
picture. Yeah. So that star is that star cluster sits above the plane of the. Here's my Milky Way.
Oh. You made a sample Milky Way?
Yeah, on a CD.
Wait,
so,
all right. Jacob, can we show this? The Milky Way on a CD. Flip it around, show the back.
Yeah, I just put it on a CD, which is coming off. But anyway, so it's the point here is it's basically flat.
Okay.
And this star cluster sits up above the plane.
Okay.
So these are ancient stars left over from the formation of our of our galaxy.
Neat. Okay.
There we go.
And before we let everyone go, we need to talk about our dark sky viewing etiquette. As we know, we talk about it every month.
Yep.
Stargazers don't like white lights, they like red lights. It's the best way to keep your vision intact to be able to actually view the night sky. So Keith, what is your new?
This is it.
Red sheet?
Red sheet.
Where'd you buy that?
If you don't, a store in Seattle.
Okay.
I don't know. So I just cut a piece of it. If I don't want to change my phone, some phones will change to red. You know, we've talked about that before. But if you don't want to do that, you can just use one of these, tape it on there, and away you go. There it is. Well, I can't see it there very well, but you can also swipe through it, which is even better.
Perfect. Okay. So everybody,
red light etiquette.
No reason to not use a red light. We have so many resources via Keith.
Yeah.
All right, Keith, thank you so much. We're going to bring you back in just a little bit, but first, a Washington-based company is in space right now working on figuring out how satellite servicing works while in orbit. We talked to Starfish about why this work is important. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Sky Above. I'm Leah Pezzetti. Joining me now is Trevor Bennett, co-founder of Starfish Space, a satellite servicing company based in Tukwila. Let's start with who you are. For anyone who's never heard of Starfish, what's kind of your elevator pitch blanket statement?
Yeah, sounds good. Starfish Space is a satellite servicing company, which is usually kind of a big word for it. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is just repairing and upgrading satellites in orbit.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And you have a project in space right now called Otter-Pup.
Correct, yes. So we're very nautical at Starfish Space, as you can imagine.
Yep.
Our full-scale vehicle is called the Otter. This is the baby one. This is the one that gets to go and try it out a few times before we have to take it to the full vehicle.
Awesome.
And so that's the Otter-Pup.
And you all have produced a lovely video that explains it really beautifully.
Great.
Let's take a listen to that one.
We launched Otter-Pup 2 to attempt to dock with another satellite in low Earth orbit.
Our software allows us to dock a satellite with just a single thruster.
Otter-Pup 2 is the size of a microwave with 2 cutting boards on either side. And if we can get to that moment of docking,
if Otter-Pup 2 succeeds,
we get that feeling of like we are doing something together.
It'll really put us on the map.
It's possible for us to remotely steer this little satellite to another one, dock with it.
It enables all of that technology so that satellites can work together in space. Like, why should we be burning things up?
Of course we're going to do this, right? And you're like, yes, yes, we will.
Anything is possible.
Okay, so Otter-Pup 2 in space right now. When did Otter-Pup 2 launch?
So we actually launched it last summer in June. And so it's been on orbit for a number of months now.
Okay, about a year.
Operate, which is good. That's actually awesome for a demo mission like this. And we've been able to do a number of really exciting things on orbit now.
So this is kind of a tester mission.
Correct.
Okay, and you have this beautiful model here, and this shows what Otter-Pup 2 kind of looks like.
Yes.
How about scale? How big is it actually to scale?
This is a 1-to-1 scale. So this is the actual size of the spacecraft that we have taken to orbit.
It is?
Yep. All the components and other things are, of course, simplified for a model here, but represent kind of the actual dimensions that we would use.
Awesome. And what does each part do?
Yeah, let's walk you through a couple of the key things.
Okay.
One is just, you'll see a lot of solar panels on any spacecraft. Those are the ones that actually keep us alive and put power into it. Some of the key things that are unique to a spacecraft like ours are things like cameras and a capture system.
Okay.
And this is like electrostatic attraction here. So just like your balloon on your hair charges up or your socks on carpet, we can do the same between 2 spacecraft and actually stick together. And so that's what sits out front there. And then we have cameras, which are the eyes, to be able to see where we're going.
Yep. And
then a big flashlight there to light up the area as we're going to go and dock with it.
So you have connection with Otter-Pup 2 at all times?
Most of the time. What we do is, this is actually an autonomous spacecraft. We want this spacecraft to fly itself. And that's actually one of the key challenges that we're taking on at Starfish, is to go make this an everyday capability. We need the spacecraft to be able to do it every day.
Okay.
And so that's what we're training it to do.
And let's talk about the ultimate goal.
Yes.
Big picture, if you could snap your fingers, manifest the thing that you want to do, what is it?
It is create a whole space ecosystem. Right now, we launch satellites for very specific use cases, like GPS for your phones, or a satellite to send radio signals down. But what I really want to see is we're building things in space, manufacturing in space, recycling, sending humans, supporting all of that. That's an ecosystem. And to have an ecosystem, you need to have a spacecraft that can go and repair things when they break.
Yeah.
And that's really where we fit into that larger puzzle.
It's like a mobile service van.
That's exactly right. Yeah, a tow truck, whatever it may be, this is our ability to go and keep the infrastructure running.
So in theory, what would it need to do and what can it do?
Yes, so spacecraft have finite lives, just like any piece of machinery that we have. Your phone has a finite life, your car has a finite life. You can take it to a mechanic. That's what we want our spacecraft to be able to go do, be that mobile mechanic. Ride up next to another spacecraft, catch it, and then actually ultimately dock with it. Now that's a crazy thing to do because these satellites are moving at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour, which means the time it takes you to blink your eye, it can travel 1 mile.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
how fast it's moving.
Wow.
And now it's doing like a handshake, like you're giving a high five to your friend on the highway. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing in a docking mission.
So when it latches on, does it then travel with whatever
Yes.
spacecraft it's moving, and then it can, I'm picturing like move around and I don't know, drill things or?
That's exactly right. That's the core premise. So this is a demonstration mission, so it's really just designed to make that first contact. Later you could have robotic arms or more complex drills or other
Okay.
things to actually go and access components. But the core piece that's really been the challenge to date is doing that initial contact, and that's what OtterPup is serving to go solve.
And have you successfully docked onto a moving satellite in space yet?
So we as a species have
Okay.
a couple of times.
Okay.
What's different now is we're trying to make that cost effective. Rather than costing $1 billion to go do it, we think we can do it with just a couple million. And that's really what we're trying to solve here. And so that means simpler hardware, simpler electronics, and go and actually do it at a cost and a price point that companies can just go adopt on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And I say millions, but space is kind of an expensive industry. If you just take off a few zeros, then it feels more natural to what you would deal with. But actually just single-digit millions is really, really quite cost-effective for space.
I believe it. And let's talk about why we need to do this.
Yeah.
We're putting things in space every day.
Yes.
And is there an issue with space junk? You hear that term.
Often something that we can be concerned about going forward is space junk. But really there's a major driver that's actually the economic incentive there. So there really could be two pieces. One, we want to make sure that it's a shared resource and it stays a healthy shared resource so we can keep using space. That's where we would go and do satellite servicing or remove debris, right? But really the actual driver that we see and part of what we're trying to lean into is that we can actually go build that ecosystem and actually take advantage of space in a way that we haven't before. And that's where these servicing type missions are going to come into play. And actually what's crazy is the amount of utilization that's already happening. In the last decade or 5 years, we've launched more satellites than all of human history combined. It is an exponential rise right now, and we haven't yet figured out how to support that. And so that's really what we're going to try and go lean in on.
So the need is definitely not only there right now, but growing.
Absolutely, yeah, at an exponential rate. We're just watching satellites get launched every week in batches of no longer 1 or 2 satellites that get us excited, but tens or hundreds of satellites at a time. And that's really the scale that we're at now.
Have you done research into how many times, maybe in maybe more recent years or history, your tool, your device would have been useful and maybe saved a situation?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are a number of key things that I might maybe give you a positive example and a negative example. So the space junk one is always one that we could be concerned about. There was an Iridium Cosmos collision. And actually these two satellites crossed paths and created such a debris field that for years you couldn't fly a satellite near it. So that's a bad case. We're going to try to avoid that. And we can, just by removing the satellite before it collides with something else. A practice we try to do every day. A positive example is like saving the Hubble telescope. We were able to send astronauts up there and go replace a mirror and give it extra like decades of life and deeper ability to see into the cosmos here. And so that's what we can also do. Just like you would upgrade your phone on your camera, you can now go upgrade your satellite in the same way.
And I'm sure it takes so much money to send everything into space. It's far cheaper to fix it while in space than bring it back to Earth.
That's the thesis. We're going to see if we can go and make that a reality. Absolutely.
Okay, so OtterPup 2, kind of a tester in space right now. What's
Correct.
next?
Yes, so we have a couple of things lined up here. One is the actual demonstration for OtterPup 2, and then what does that buy us as a company going forward? OtterPup 2 is going to go over the next couple of months and try to attempt docking with another commercial satellite that was never designed to be docked with. That's the change. They didn't have to make any design changes. We fly to them. We're chasing them down at 17,000 miles per hour, and we're going to go try and capture them. So keep an eye on that because we're going to share a lot of detail there. What that buys us going forward is the ability to do this at scale. We're going to start scaling up into the full Otter, which is the full-size vehicle, and go do this with tens of Otters a year to go fly and support a number of other spacecraft.
I love it. We're putting otters in space, not just the ocean. Let's put them in space.
Yeah.
How Washington of us.
True to form.
Trevor, thank you so much for your expertise. It will be fascinating to follow along and see how this mission goes.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, when we come back, the mission back to the moon continues. We're not just going in space, we're going to the moon. NASA is unveiling bold new goals for a lunar base. We'll show you what life on the moon could look like.
We are leveraging the NASA playbook from the 1960s, figuring out what works and what doesn't in this epic science of survival, because the moon base is as beautiful as it is hostile.
That was NASA Administrator Jarek Isaacman last month speaking about the space agency's plans for establishing a permanent base on the moon with the goal of a sustained human presence living and working on the lunar surface. Keith is back to help unpack all of this. We had some big news coming out recently. Let's first go through the 3 different phases that NASA has announced. So phase 1 is now through 2029. NASA is beginning to lay the groundwork, sending robotic missions to scout the lunar pole, test technology, deploy rovers and drones, and deliver equipment to see what works before people begin living there.
Right on. Landers, terrain vehicles, drones, they call moonfall drones, radioisotope heating units, communication satellites, got to be able to communicate, right? So, lots going up before people get there. So that's where we want Artemis 4 to come in. Coming into the moon, stuff is already there, ready to go.
Yep, okay, so we're laying the groundwork. Phase 2 then is anticipated 2029 through 2032. NASA starts building the moon base, adding power systems, habitat elements, upgraded vehicles, stronger communications, and delivering large amounts of cargo.
Yeah, including pressurized rovers in phase 2, radioisotope thermoelectric generators for heat, and new approaches to solar power and more communication systems. So it's so exciting. I mean, it's an amazing plan that Isaacman laid out.
We're building a base. Yeah. Okay, but then phase 3, this is 2032 and beyond. This is when NASA shifts to actually living and working on the moon long term with permanent style habitats, reliable power, regular crew activity, and steady cargo deliveries to keep the base running year round.
Right.
So one thing we have to mention, Keith, this was unveiled, but we also had a little bit of a hiccup.
Yes.
In our, shall we say, milestones to the moon.
Yes. Blue Origin had a rocket, their New Glenn rocket exploded down in Florida.
Oh yeah, that blew up. That is not normal. I've never seen that.
Me neither.
That is crazy. There's the shockwave.
Oh no, that's an explosion.
And there's rockets in process of being made, so the rocket is, you don't want to lose a rocket, but what they lost was the launch pad, and that's their only launch pad. So that's going to be, all of this has to be assessed in terms of how it affects the phases of the program. I think the plan is still the plan, but the timing is going to change almost for sure, I think.
Because Blue Origin is such a big contributor and just lost its ability to launch.
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I guess we'll see how that unfolds as we move forward. Keith, thank you so much. We, of course, will continue to follow the Artemis mission as that continues. Well, that does it for us here on this June episode of our monthly astronomy show, The Sky Above. I'm your host, meteorologist Leah Pezzetti. We will be back with you next month for a brand new episode discussing everything flying through the sky so you know when to look up.